Hey guys, and welcome back to the Cafe, the channel where I post whatever I want, whenever I want. Happy Car Cat Day, or June 12th, hopefully. Today's video is a short one, but I wanted to get something out in time for this special occasion, and I'm recording this on June 10th at 10:13, so, well, let's hope I get it in time. Homestuck Beyond Canon and Homestuck Post Canon in general is one of my favorite stories of all time, so to cover it in a theory video like this is an amazing opportunity that I hope to do very much in the future, with many other topics other than this specific topic. And shoutouts to the Beyond Canon chat and the Homestuck official Discord for giving me the idea for this video. Without them, I would still be... well, I'd still be in a dark place. Without further ado, let's get this theory brewing. Act 2 of Beyond Canon has been a bountiful wealth of amazing ideas and concepts. But, most of all, the world building of the Nymphs and Satyrs has been a point of particular interest for me and many others. The thousands of years of strife, the near extinction of both species multiple times, and the glimpses of Rose and Dirk's influence on the planet are so interesting. But we have one extremely clear look into the influence on this planet: the Exemplar. The Exemplar is described as somewhat of a guide for the satyr species, someone who directly teaches the satyr species the do's and don'ts of their social order. And given the pair of glasses on his memoir, it was safe to assume that it was Dirk. But this video is a different interpretation of the identity of the Exemplar. Firstly, let's get into why it simply can't be Dirk. See, despite the common interpretation of our princely Exemplar being the oh-so-feared and hated Prince of Heart, Dirk simply cannot be the Exemplar, mostly because Dirk literally could not have been there. In Homestuck Squared, the plan for the contest was for Dirk and Rose to directly oversee the development of their respective species, with Terezi as the impartial judge. However, things changed in Beyond Canon, and as they changed, Dirk's plan changed. Instead of directly overseeing their species, Dirk and Rose would simply be skipping forwards in time. With this, Dirk and Rose both directly state that they would be giving up more direct control over the developments of their respective species, and foregoing that direct interference. The mechanics are very clearly laid out. Dirk, Rose, and Terezi all cannot interfere in the past of Deltritus, as they have all skipped it. There's just no possible way for him to have been the Exemplar with the mechanics of the time skip as we know them. And narratively speaking, that just seems very weak to me. Dirk and Rose have a whole conversation in the 4/13/2024 update about the lack of control and it being a non-issue for Dirk. So, what would the point of changing the plan from the original thing in Homestuck Squared, then deviating away from that plan, in favor of just doing that same thing in a more convoluted way in Beyond Canon be? It just doesn't make sense to me. In that case, who could the Exemplar be? Who would it make sense for Dirk to leave behind and guide his species with lack of control for himself? Well, I've seen many suggestions, such as a new robot created specifically to guide the satyr species into the merit and fraternity systems, or a new snapshot of Dirk's brain to create autoresponder 2, which would make the glasses themselves the Exemplar, and any satyr who wears them the Exemplar, gaining all of Dirk's knowledge and values. Very SCP-963, which is Dr. Elias Shaw, for those who don't know, formerly known as Dr. Bright. There was a whole situation, don't even worry about it. But I have a different suggestion. A character we haven't seen in a long time. Another splinter of Dirk that he never particularly liked, but I believe he would trust with the development of the satirical values of his perfectly envisioned society. Arqueus. Now, why Arqueus? Why choose one of his most directly hated splinters? Well, there's a variety of factors that led me to this conclusion. For one, Dirk still has a lot of use for Arqueus. In Homestuck proper, the two's relationship didn't really come to a satisfying conclusion in my opinion. Dirk just sort of blindly hates him and doesn't really think about him more, maybe giving a cursory comment about how he seems happy or something. Meanwhile, with regards to Arqueus, there are some extremely obvious slam dunk associations between the horse-Dirk fusion and the horse-like species of the satyrs. But beyond that, there are some weird things involving Arqueus in Beyond Canon specifically, mainly being his exclusion from the point and Vriska's Hell. This is especially weird because Vriska's Hell did feature horses, the ethereal horses seen in Homestuck alongside moments of elevated canonical relevance in the Dream Bubbles alongside Caliborn and Lord English's defeat. But despite Fefida, Aerosol, G-Cat Tavros, and even Nanasprite being featured in Hell, Arqueus, despite being part of that group, is conspicuously missing. And it's not like he's dead either. He exists across both pre- and post-retcon necessarily. So, why wasn't he in Hell? My personal theory is that Dirk took Arqueus long before Vriska's journey into the point. All the other sprites currently exist outside of either meat or candy, but Arqueus, I think, is specifically trapped in meat. Why? Well, Arqueus as a sprite has a lot of knowledge about the game inherently, and thus would be a perfect guide to the satyrs when it came to playing Spurb, which seemed like to be ancient knowledge that our mysterious friend TC picked up. Additionally, Arqueus, or more likely Equeus Sprite, gave Dirk a pendant at some point, the very same pendants that can be used to summon sprites to your current location. So, Dirk could have literally just kept Arqueus with him alongside the various other treasures that we know Dirk kept from across canon. There's even a very coincidental and definitely unrelated point of Andrew Hussey himself associating Equeus with the title of Exemplar literally days after the Beyond Canon update, which introduced the concept, with Exemplar dank look from the Before an Ancestor drop, which is almost certainly a coincidence, but it's an odd one, which leaves the possibility of it being an intentional hint. That's the least compelling evidence I have, if the most direct though. That's all well and good, but even if all this evidence leads you to the conclusion that Arqueus is the Exemplar, what about this suggests he'd act in the way described? The Exemplar is just that, exemplary for the Satyr Society as a whole. Why would he do as Dirk asked, and actually lead the Satyrs to their current societal model with the Nymphs? Well, first let's look at what the Exemplar actually does. From our minimal descriptions of the guy, he seems to have only intervened in ancient satyr wars and guided the species towards a more merit-based society. Without him, the satyrs commit various war crimes, such as killing baby nymphs, which could have possibly led to the extinction of the nymph or satyr species in their wars prior to the game. So, the role probably meant to make sure that the species don't actually kill each other before the time comes and the meteors arrive. But for Arqueus' actual reasoning, we need to look at the sprites and their relationship to canon. All of the sprites, including Arqueus, were at least somewhat present on Earth-C in the credits. This is especially the case for G-Cat Tavros, who was with Dirk and Jake specifically in Consort Kingdom. However, as the story moved further, and we skip 3 years into the epilogues, they seemingly aren't around anymore. All of the sprites sort of disappear with the lack of canonicity, because as the guides from Skya, they're sort of mouthpieces for canon. How this relates to Arqueus is that Arqueus is the most canon sprite, in that he's the only one who needs to exist in either pre- or post-retcon. As he is a piece of Lord English, he needs to exist, because Lord English needs to exist. If Lord English doesn't exist, the entire timeline goes blackout, as described in Pester Quest. However, with how Dirk constructed the confrontation against Lord English in Meat, Arqueus himself, as in the one who Dirk brings with him into Meat and Candy Vice Pendant, or whatever you think he'd use to bring him into Meat and Candy, would not have to go through the events of Masterpiece and would not have to become Lord English. And thus, he'd feel that he owes Dirk. He owes Dirk because Dirk saved him from his fate of becoming a huge monster that literally oppressed his entire society. One final piece. It's notable to observe that the relationship between the Nymphs and Satyrs itself seems to be a reversal, or at least a neutral take, on the caste relationship between the Blue Bloods and the Sea Dwellers on Alternia, something Equius had a vested interest in. Just another interesting association. With all these pieces of admittedly circumstantial evidence, all these various things lead me to the conclusion that Arqueus is currently the most compelling candidate for the Exemplar. Much like his beforehand self, he was positioned into a place where he needed to be exemplary for an entire caste of people, an entire species of people. Dirk probably made him look more like a satyr so that he was accepted, and he was the one to directly intervene with satyr society, more so on behalf of Dirk's will rather than Dirk himself. Vis-a-vis him becoming a satyr, there's actually some pieces of evidence towards him becoming a stallion. Mostly him mentioning stallions multiple times as Arqueus in the Trickster arc, but there is also the entire point of Arqueus' journey being a reflection of AR's desire to have a physical body, and this being the ultimate conclusion to that storyline in him getting a physical body, but only in the sense of being a mouthpiece for Dirk's will, so it's still a tool for him to be controlled. But that's not the only interpretation. What do you think? I think regardless of what I personally think, one thing is for certain, and not theoretical in this framework. Dirk himself cannot be the Exemplar. So, what are your theories with regards to that idea? Please leave a comment down below with your ideas, and while you're there, please feel free to leave a like, share the video with friends, and subscribe. It'd really help me out. Join my Discord server to discuss more stuff like this, and subscribe to my main channel, Mystic Angel, where I release Dragon Ball videos. It's been a while, but I have some stuff in the works. Just to throw this in at the end of the video, this is entirely unscripted, I have 2 MSPFA projects in the works. One is a collaborative project with Club Steus, and will be about the influencers, and another, which is my own personal project, Coffee Break 2, will be coming out within this month or next month. So, without further ado, and sorry for the hiatus, bye-bye.